What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to start getting some work done to the aluminum intake for my small block Mopar for the D100 project. Let's get started. Alright, so this is the intake off of my LA360 small block out of the D100. It's an aluminum Edelbrock performer intake that needs to be cleaned up. This was on the engine when I pulled it. Some previous owner had put this on that engine, and there's still some stuff that I want to do to it before it goes back on the block when I get it back from the machine shop. I've already kind of taken a pressure washer to it just to get all the heavy grime off it, but there's still a lot of oxidation that I want to remove. So I'm going to be using couple of different grinders, or a couple of different die grinders, air tools. Some with are going to have Scotch-Brite pads. Some are going to have like a surface prep disc. I'm also going to be using my drill here with a lot of different wire wheels on there, and I've got a bunch of different sanding discs and red Scotch-Brite pads. At the same time, or actually probably before I start really cleaning it up, I want to do a little bit of porting and polishing. Like I said, the previous owner obviously bought this, slapped it on the block, and called it good. But I want to do a lot of cleaning up any of the sharp edges, especially like right here in the middle. I want to get rid of this flat edge and make it more of a knife edge along there, just to kind of help with airflow. On the intake runners, so this hasn't really been cleaned up that much. You can see where the gaskets were and where there was a lot of, I guess, just carbon buildup here around the intake, around the runners. Now I do want to get rid of some of these like sharp edges in here. I'm not worried about really gasket matching or matching this to the intake of the heads. I mean, as you can see, the intake runners weren't interfering with the gaskets. There was plenty of carbon buildup around there. It just shows that the gasket was actually smaller than the port, which is fine. But what I want to do is just get rid of any of these sharp edges, especially like right here. There's a really good edge just all around. I'm going to clean up all the edges, smooth them out, and polish them up. So I think I'm going to do that first before I really start cleaning the head, or cleaning up the intake manifold. So I think I'm going to throw on the gaskets and get to kind of laying it out, seeing where I need to take some of the sharp edges off, and work on the actual, like, the throttle body or the carburetor mounting surface, all these sharp edges all along here, and mainly this center section. So I'm going to get set up, and I guess I'll get started with that. All right, so here you can see I've taken one of the intake gaskets and put it on the manifold. I'm trying to get an idea of how much room I have to clean up these intake ports. The only place I'm really concerned about is here in the center. So the center intake here, or the center gasket, is real thin, and the walls of the intake come real close to that gasket. So I don't want to do anything really with this edge, just because this area here is so thin. But the rest of it, you can see, has plenty of room to be able to clean up these other edges and smooth out the intake. It's the same thing over on this side. I don't know how well you can really see that. So I'm not too concerned about taking off too much material, because I'm not going to get up into the gasket. The only place I'm really concerned about that is here in the middle. So I'm just going to, like I said, I'm not going crazy. All I'm really doing is just relieving the corner or the edge of the intake runners, the intake ports. I'm just going to chamfer those edges a little bit, and those will be good. As far as the carb location, that's going to take some more work. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these two sides done, and then I'll work on the carb. All right, so now that I got the intake ports done, and again, all I did was just basically knock down this edge right here. So there's no real lip there or anything. There's no any kind of obstruction along the edges. It's just a nice smooth transition now. That was all I did. Like I said, it was nothing severe. Now that I got those done, I'm going to turn my attention to the throttle body or the carburetor intake. I'm going to break all these edges all along here, and then this center piece here, I'm actually going to probably grind that down to almost like a knife edge, or just a rounded edge across the top here, as I having a flat surface right there. Again, just making a little aerodynamic, I guess, or just to smooth the airflow coming in through the throttle body, in through the carburetor, and into the intake. So that's what's next. Alright, now that all the porting and semi-polishing, I guess, is done on the intake, it's time to turn to the fun part. And that's getting all of the oxidation off of the aluminum. And to do that, I'm going to be using most of the same stuff that I've already used for the porting. I'm going to be using a couple different die grinders. This one's just an angled grinder with a surface prep disc. I got a regular straight die grinder with different surface discs on it. This one's, I got red Scotch-Brite, I got blue Scotch-Brite, I got some sanding discs, just a bunch of different stuff to help get into all the little nooks and crannies of the intake manifold. I'm also going to be using my drill with a bunch of different wire wheels. This one's for getting in there, some of the smaller areas. I got larger cup one. I've got different size wheels. So all this, and probably some brake cleaner, and just to kind of help break up any remaining dirt that's on there, and then clean up all the oxidation. Once that's done, then I'll decide if I'm going to paint it or just clear coat it. I'm thinking I'm probably going to paint it just to match the aluminum color of all the other brackets I'm doing. I'm not a big fan of having black brackets. Not a big fan of black on the engine overall, just because I feel that it hides leaks, and I think everything looks better in a bare aluminum color anyway. So that's maybe what I'm going to do. I'll determine that once I get this all cleaned up. So let's get to cleaning up all the oxidation off the aluminum. Alright, so it's coming along pretty good. I still got some more that needs to be done. Some more of the more hard to reach areas. I think I just need to use like regular Scotch-Brite pad, maybe a stiff bristle, like a wire brush or something. Maybe something along those lines. Get down in there, all those little hard to reach areas, and get all that out. But I mean, it's only been an hour and a half total for everything that I've done so far, so it's really not that bad, and it's not really that time consuming. A little bit of time, a little bit of effort, and you can make some pretty major improvements. So I'm going to keep working on this, and then I think I'm going to end up painting it. I was doing some of these engine brackets earlier, and these are actually painted with some Duplicolor engine paint. And I think this is actually, cast coat aluminum is the color. And that's what, I don't know how well you can see that there. That's the color of it. I mean, it's pretty close actually to the actual color of the intake manifold. So I think I'm going to paint it. But obviously before I do that, I'm going to mask off all the areas that are going to have gaskets. So like the throttle body or carburetor, where the intake mounts to the heads, so along that surface there. The thermostat housing mount, all that will get masked off before this gets painted. But I'm just gonna keep going and get this done. Now that everything has been ported, polished, cleaned, rinsed, dried, and masked, now we're ready for paint. Now, like I said, I'm going to be using this Duplicolor engine enamel in cast aluminum. I'm doing all my brackets in this color. I'm probably going to do like the timing chain cover, pretty much maybe even my heads, maybe, I don't know, haven't decided that. But I think that the color compared to the brackets I've already painted and the color of the manifold in bare aluminum is pretty close. So I think this will look pretty good. So I'm going to be doing just several coats, just really light, just basically dusting it. I don't want to get any runs in it. I don't want to get a bunch of overspray everywhere. So I'm just going to kind of take my time, go over it real light, and just get this thing covered. Let's get to painting. And after maybe 3 hours total, that's including the paint drying, there is the completed intake manifold. So just a few hours of grinding and sanding and cleaning and painting and stuff like that. You have an intake manifold that looks pretty much brand new. Now, the only other thing that I did before filming this was I pressure washed it, and that didn't really need it. Wasn't that bad, but I just got some of the real surface stuff off it, and that took maybe what, 20 minutes, if that. So 3.5 hours of some time, and you got a brand new looking intake manifold. Now, before this thing goes on the engine, once I actually get that back from the machine shop, I will be cleaning up the gasket surfaces where the intake manifold mounts to the headers or to the heads, because they'll probably collect a little oxidation. So they'll get cleaned up one more time before actually going onto the engine. Same with the throttle body or carb location. I think I'm going fuel injection, so throttle body. And same with the gasket area for the thermostat housing. All that will get cleaned up again. One last hit with a Scotch-Brite pad before final assembly. So yeah, super simple project. Really clean up some of the engine parts. So thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you get notified when new videos come out. I'll catch you on the next one.